So good morning everyone. Welcome to this webinar on trading psychology. First of all, I'd like to really thank you all to take your time out on a beautiful Sunday morning. Also, it really goes to show how many people are so dedicated towards self-improvement that you give your weekends onto attending webinars, reading books, and getting knowledge from all sources. Trading is a lifetime challenge. Trading has nothing to do with learning it and being free for all your life. It has got its own adaptations, its own nuisances, and we all have to adapt to certain jungle landscape which we have in the market and continuously do that to be able to eat what we hunt. So without any further ado, I'd like to start my presentation. But before that, let me tell you this one little story, and that really is very analogous to how things are there in the market. So there was this time when I was very young, and I was a little child, I got fever. And when I got fever, what happened is that my parents wanted me to have kadha, solution which was made of Ayurvedic things, and it was the yuckiest, worst smelling thing I could ever had. So that was the worst smelling thing I could have ever had. Now what happens is that when I have that fever, and it's like 102, 103, 104, and I was such a young child, it was difficult for me to even digest that. But then my mother said, they'll get me this, they'll get me that, and it will happen. So I decided to drink it. So I just did my dose like this, and I drank the entire thing. And within 1 or 2 minutes, my fever was all gone. This is exactly what psychology is about. This is exactly what understanding the fact that trading psychology is such an integral part of trading and getting success in trading. Because once you drink this solution, once you understand what psychology is, how you behave, the next thing you know, you are successful. You will take a lot of time, you will take a lot of resistance to understand all that. But once you understand that, you will feel like not wanting to get into all this. But once you understand this, you will be one again and you will be successful in trading. Now on the right hand side of your screen, there's a panel. So anytime you want to raise your hand, you can raise your hand. Anytime you want to ask your question, ask questions to me, right? If I'm in the flow of saying something, I wouldn't be able to answer it, but I'll definitely come back to it. And when I ask you to ask questions, please feel free to interact. I want this session to be as interactive as possible. We will share each other's experiences, and each other's experiences will help everyone. Correct? So I'd like to start with a quote, and this quote is by James Allen from the book As a Man Thinketh. A man's mind be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must be and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall, and therein will continue to produce their own kind. Now, parallelly, a little bit about me, and this is summing up everything that I've experienced in my career, in my from the very young student life sort of career to now. I was someone who came to the markets through the through understanding technical analysis. However, when I was a young child, the immediate thing was for me to make money out of it. And when I was a teenager, at that time I got introduced to the subject. So I wanted to just go out there and make money. I did not. Finally, I started making some money. And then I realized the importance of consistency, which we all someday or the other realize in life. And once we understand how being consistent in whatever we are doing, whatever business you are in, once we understand how important it is to be consistently doing and repeating the best things again and again, we attain a certain level of maturity, a certain level of stability. And If we don't understand that, markets being one place where emotions and stimuli can make you go haywire, can make you go here, there, everywhere, you will give rise to useless thought processes, and those useless thought processes will make you do useless things, and those useless things will again result in multiplying those useless actions. And there are chemicals in the brain, there are many reasons which make us do that, and we're going to explore this today. I'm Mohit Pachisia. I'm a I'm a chartered financial analyst. I'm a chartered market technician. So I've been educated by the two best institutes in the subject for the world. I don't care about my degrees, and they're only for you to be here and for the 10-15 minutes to listen to me. And what I care about is what the screen is telling me. What I care about is what the markets are. The markets does not know how educated, smart, or good looking you can be. All the market knows is what you can do and what you can take out of it. Market doesn't even know you, for that matter. So at this very young age of my career, when I was in college, I began trading. And it took me a lot of time to be consistent. I shifted jobs, I got rejections, I made and lost money, and finally, after a decent amount of time, I started to get to understand what consistency is. When I got consistency, and the growth after that was exponential. Today, I am dealing with clients all over the world. I also have begun in the last 2 years to teach people, and again, I teach from people from all over the world. I have my own course in technical analysis and trading. Besides that, I have given seminars, given talks, and dealt with prop trading and institutional traders from different brokerage firms from all over India. I have traveled, I teach live, I teach online, and that is what I do on weekends, that's teaching, and on Monday to Friday, I trade. I'm also associated with one European company, a German company called Phoenix Investment Management. So that makes me busy and keeps me busy 24/7. This was a little bit about me. And after this, I'd like you to understand that psychology is going to be the very center of our discussion. There are going to be problems. Obviously, there are little problems and issues you have faced in the past, which is why you may be here. So feel free to share that. You never know whose problem may be solved because of me answering your question. Why do traders lose money? Why do traders lose money? Well, I'll give you this analogy. There was this article I was reading in a country, and in that country, there were many road accidents. There were so many road accidents in that country, and it's for the simple reason, for the simple reason those road accidents were there was either because of these two animals, either a dog or a donkey. And why? Why was this so? Have you ever seen a dog crossing the road? So when a dog wants to cross a road, he's very indecisive. That dog goes to cross the road, the car comes from here, and he's like, I'll go, I'll not go, aage, piche, kabhi piche, and suddenly there's an accident. So traders tend to get so stimulated by market price movements that they change their decision and become very indecisive. So that makes it kabhi buy, kabhi sell, kabhi buy, kabhi sell, kabhi buy, kabhi sell. Makes it very indecisive. And what happens? Accident. On the second reason why traders use money, because sometimes we act like donkeys. अब किसी गधे को रोड क्रॉस करते हुए देखा, वो एक गधा एक जगह आके खड़ा हो गया और हिल नहीं रहा है, और गाड़ी आई और वहां से उसको मार दी. तो हम कभी कभी एक व्यू लेते हैं और उस व्यू को लेके गधे बन जाते हैं. So are you getting my point? Raise your hands if you're getting what I'm trying to say. Right. Right. You can raise your hand if you're getting what I'm trying to say. Okay. Thank you. So there'll be a better picture for this. This looks too ugly. And because that is how we behave. Right. I see someone has asked me a question. Right. Okay. Give me 1 minute. There's some issue with the screen sharing. Okay. So this is how we tend to do, right? And this is the primary reason why people lose money. And this is why people lose money, and how people lose money is either they have a series of losing trades, like small losses, or they have one big loss. Either they have a series of losing trades, or they have one big loss. So we'll have discussion more on that. But this is how people tend to behave, and this is how we all tend to behave. And there's a very valid reason why we tend to behave like this. When I started trading about a year from then, I had by then really had so many ups and downs and learned a lot that I myself went into the study of mind, of psychology, and today one of my passion is studying the concepts of psychiatry, and I also handle clients whom I can give time. Like there's a group of people who come to me, like a firm, and then we give time to them to read the psychology, to read their and review the results and make it better. So that paradigm shift in the mind makes it, makes it like sharpening your own axe and really benefits you in the long term. This webinar, the reason why I have this webinar is that in small and big groups, over hundreds of people have just appreciated and benefited from psychology. This, if I go ahead and talk about a technical concept, it might sound a little alien to you because you may be not acquainted to some advanced concepts, or you may have a different perspective if you have not dealt with basics. So I keep all the technical stuff generally for my course, which is like the entire 15 session course. And when I go and give webinars, free webinars on things, so I'd like to touch upon things which are common to all people. So by now I'm also into things like astrology and have all these kind of things. And what I realized is that there's what is more important in the entire arena is that we all want to understand more about the markets. We think that understanding more about the markets will help us make money. And there is a successful trader who doesn't care or know much about the market, and money flows into his account so easily and so effortlessly. So what the other person knows, what the difference between these two people are, is the person who does not care so much about the news, the market, the this, the that. He knows more about himself. So the entire challenge is to know more about yourself. And we are not wired, as human beings, we are not wired to trade. What we are wired to do is we are wired to survive. So we have a brain, we have a body, which is like any other animal, right? We belong to the plants and the animals, right? So that we belong to that animal category, and we have got our brains, our chemical enzymes throughout the body. Our very nature is against trading. So human nature, right? Like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala also accepts this and says this, that trading is against human nature. Now, sometimes he says that so that people in general who jump into trading very blindly, they understand things. But if you notice, he himself claims to have made a lot of wealth by trading, and that without trading he would have been nowhere. So don't take it as a fact that trading is something which is more speculative or investment is more speculative. So in my years of experience in trading and some good 2 years and 3.5 years in teaching, I realized that when we go and explain things to students who understand maybe fundamental analysis, and you try to tell them that there is a systematic risk, there's an systematic risk. You go to students of technical analysis and you try and tell them that there's buying and selling pressure, and which sounds more physically valid because it's in front of your eyes. What really comes together to tell you the truth is that what if I tell you that everything is illusion and everything is speculation? See, do you think investment is not speculation? Investment is speculation. It is just that the psychological stamina to handle the up and down in the long run is more easy compared to handling the ups and downs in the short term. And given a chance, any long term investor that I know of would be a trader, given a chance. given the skill to be able to accurately uh, time price movements, why would you not want to leverage your money faster? But then these are the challenges with trading. There are many psychological challenges. We are wired in such a way that we have the fears, we have the flight, we have the tendency to fear from a situation and fly away, or we have the tendency of not fearing the situation and fight our way through. Either way, the market is not someone who can entertain that kind of instincts. And when we play by those animal instincts, we tend to hurt ourselves. So it's very important for us to know that our nature is not by itself very valid for trading. So there are specific reasons. First of all, that we are not aligned to think in terms of probabilities. Now, the reason why people trade even, and the very roots of trading psychology come from why people trade. बचपन से लेके आज तक हमें रोज कोई ना कोई बात के लिए रोका जाता है, कोई ना कोई बात के लिए टोका जाता है। हम हमें पूरी तरह से अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करने का मौका नहीं दिया जाता। हम बचपन से लेके आज तक, अगर सपोज आप में से कोई एवरेज, अगर आप 30 या 35 साल के हैं, तो बचपन से लेके आज तक आपने रोज कुछ ना कुछ सुना है कि तुम्हें क्या लगता है, ये कर लोगे, तुम वो नहीं करोगे, नहीं नहीं तुमको जैसा कहा जा रहा है उतना ही करो, तुम बहुत ज्यादा तेज जा रहे हो, क्या है, तुमको क्या लगता है एक दिन में हो जाएगा, तुमको लगता है ये वो। इस तरीके से ओवर द स्पैन ऑफ 30 years amongst the average age, if I kind of count आप ऑडियंस में जो है उनकी, आपने कम से कम 7-8 हज़ार ऐसे छोटी छोटी रोकने वाली बातें, अपने आप को रोकने वाली बातें एक्सपीरियंस कर ली है। और ये जब सारी बातें आपके एक्सप्रेशन को सप्रेस करते हैं, आपका माइंड चाहता है कि मैं उस सप्रेशन से बाहर निकलूं, मुझे कहीं तो जगह मिले जहां मैं अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करूं। तो एक सर्टेन एज के बाद, प्रॉब्ली 15, 18, 20, लोग ड्रिंकिंग, स्मोकिंग, इन चीजों में लग जाते हैं, बिकॉज उन्हें लगता है कि वो उनके फ्रीडम को एक्सप्रेस करने का एक तरीका है। इनफैक्ट कोई लोग तो हमें आके ये भी बोलते हैं कि हमें ड्रिंक करने से या ड्रग्स लेने से तो क्रिएटिविटी फील होती है। क्रिएटिविटी कुछ फील नहीं होती है, आपके पास करेक्ट परसेप्शन नहीं है चीजों का, आपको बस लगता है कि आप क्रिएटिव हो, क्योंकि आपका एक्सप्रेशन ही तब निकल रहा है, तो क्रिएटिव एक्सप्रेशन ही तब निकलेगा। So you want to go against things, and similarly that goes for gambling. And actual terms, trading is not a markets are not a platform for gambling, but people make it a platform for gambling. That is the truth. I humbly accept that people make it like gambling. And why they make it like gambling? Because they're looking for some escape. So when people are asked to trade with certain rules, when they are asked to follow certain uh, things and just trade on those basis, what they tend to do is that in once in life they got this opportunity to be free, be not having to ask anyone, and make their own decisions and get their own results in an unlimited environment. If you add up the kind of instruments we have and the kind of different kind of movements we have, it's practically an unlimited environment with unlimited possibilities. To get yourself hurt by a loss is not a very big deal in practical terms. But if people don't understand that there is a certain set of rules, because this is the only place they didn't think they would have to apply any rule. So if they understand that there's a certain set of rules, it's very difficult for them to digest. So the roots of our reasons for trading actually are against us somewhere or the other. We're not allowed to think in terms of probability. Most of the traders who I see uh, come to me after a lot of failure. They are very excellent and very intelligent people in their own profession. In fact, they're extremely successful. And after so much success, it's very difficult for them to think in probabilities because they are savvy about perfectionism. If you are a perfectionist, and that is why probably I say funnily that maybe Amir Khan will find it very difficult to trade because he's such a perfectionist. So if you are such a perfectionist, you are not going to understand that every trade is about a probability. If you have to understand that every trade is about a probability, what you need to focus is on a very good trading system. And when I say system, I don't mean an automated trading system. That's a $2.5 billion industry, which is all fake. So I don't mean that. What I mean is a set of rules that you, by terms in terms of discretionary decision or intuition, those set of rules are what you trade by. If you make those set of rules, that way of looking at charts, reading charts, and designing trades, entering and exiting trades, booking out profit, booking out losses, scaling up, scaling down. If you have a set of things you apply to the market, and if you think they are the right thing to do, then you have to understand that any kind of analysis, be it technical, be it fundamental, be it anything, is about a certain set of assumptions and probabilities. So, for example, I tell to people that my technical strategies are not meant to tell me where the market is going. They are just simply there to give me an edge over a series of trades. So I take 10 trades, out of which maybe 6 or maybe 9 may be correct, depends. I don't know the sequence in which they may be correct sometimes. Also, I know one thing, that the risk rewards are skewed in a way that my rewards will be bigger than my risk. So if I take 10 trades and if I can net out profits, I have an edge. It is always, always, always about probabilities. But people don't respect those things and they overposition sides. They underposition sides. They're the weird kind of things. The next thing we don't understand is that money has a time barrier. बचपन से हमें ये कहा जाता है, कहानियों से लेके गानों में, महीने के खर्चे, दिन के खर्चे, इतने दिन में इतना कमाया, एक्सेट्रा. और जब आप स्टॉक मार्केट में आते हो और आप उसको ट्रेड करते हो, आपके प्रॉफिट होते हैं. आप सपोज 1 घंटे के अंदर आपके पास, या 1 घंटे के, अगर आपको 15 मिनट के अंदर 50,000 रुपए बन गए, 15 मिनट के अंदर 50,000 रुपए, आपका माइंड वो सबकॉन्शियसली ले नहीं पाता है. और वो 50,000 बुक करने के बाद आप कुछ ऐसा करते हो कि आप उसमें से 25,000 रुपए कैसे खो देते हो. Firstly, you did not respect your ability to make that kind of money in that trading day. You did not sustain your profits. Also, your subconscious is so powerful. Your subconscious is so powerful that you are telling yourself that I don't deserve 50,000. I deserve maybe to lose some money. And you end up attracting that, and you end up losing that, and you end up doing and taking those action for that. So it is very important for us to understand that money has no time barrier. Trading is one of the most entrepreneurial things one can do. It is completely entrepreneurial. And an entrepreneur does not trade his time for money. An entrepreneur trades his skill, his services, his business acumen for money. So you're not trading your time for money. Understand that. And if you're understanding that, you understand that money has no time barrier. In stock markets, depending on how the price movements are happening, I can do a lot. I can wait for 10 days and I may not make much money because I'm not doing the right things. Even though I'm thinking hard, I may be overthinking. But if I just do the right things, I can make money enough for the next 10 days just by sitting and trading properly one day, or one movement, or one session, or 1 week. So money has no time barrier. If we get out of those shackles, we understand how liquid the nature and the fluid nature of money. So psychologically, we need to understand that subconsciously that money has no time barrier. We also need to understand and think in terms of probabilities. Because when we think in terms of probabilities, what happens is that if I have a trade which is not working out for me at the moment, I do not prematurely exit it. I don't prematurely exit it because I understand that there can be a loss and have accepted that risk. A lot of traders don't accept the risk. They just say that okay, हम ले लेंगे, देख लेंगे, हो जाएगा. But they are not psychologically willing to accept that amount of risk, and they go over positioning themselves unnecessarily. Number three is that we are not born with a high or a limitless capacity of self-evaluation. So when we are not born with this limitless capacity of self-evaluation, we tend to limit ourselves. We tend to understand that probably, अगर मैं इतना इतना कमाने लायक आदमी हूँ तो मैं उतना कमाने लायक आदमी हूँ. So that is all the things about entrepreneur spirit. There is no limit. There should be a self-belief. If you feel, just imagine someone who's on the stage and he's a rock star. The first thing he does, he feels like a rock star. Serena Williams once said that when I come to the tennis court, I already feel that I am better than the opponent, and that gives me a kick. That gives me a kick to win the match, and she's a world champion. So we need to have a positive self-esteem. We need to have a high self-evaluation. We need to have a limitless capacity for it. Now we're not born with it, but we can push our limits. We can increase that little by little. So, for example, for me, taking anything more than 2 trades in a row was a big barrier. So, after every 2 trades, what I used to do is I used to stop trading. That helped me. That really helped me. I recommend you to do that because in one day you're not going to change your nature. But then after that, what happened is that now it is natural for me to even have a streak of 5, 6, 7, 8 trades, which are all correct only because I got psychologically adapted to it slowly and slowly, and I pushed my limits. Because after every 2 good trades, what I used to do is do something which was stupid and take risk because and there are reasons for it, which we'll discuss. And when I did such stupid things, I used to lose half the money I made. So it took me time to adapt and push forward. So I would recommend you to do that also. Number four, we tend to take the path of least resistance. अब path of least resistance है हमारा मतलब क्या है? मेरा मतलब सिंपली ये है कि आप अभी जहाँ बैठे हो शायद वो आपका एक कंफर्ट जोन हो और जहाँ आपको होना चाहिए वो आपकी कंफर्ट जोन से बाहर है. तो फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे मैं अपने स्टूडेंट्स को बोलता हूँ कि अगर यू हैव द कैपेसिटी द साइकोलॉजिकल स्टैमिना टू लूज सो मच then you lose half of it. Just stop trading for a few days or maybe for that trading session. It is difficult. It is difficult to understand so many things are happening in the market and not trading. It is not easy. It is difficult. It is painful to sit in front of the screen and not do anything, even if you have the money to do it, even if you understand. Because I tell them to, because see, whenever you take a loss, whenever you take a big loss which is beyond your psychological stamina, what tends to happen is that you start and you want to psychologically get it back as soon as possible. If you want to get it back as soon as possible, you are in a desperate stage of trading. You're not in the right state of mind for trading. And generally people end up losing even more in those cases. So I ask them to stop. And it is painful. So you have to understand if you have to take the pain of discipline or lose more money and later take the pain of regret. Pain of discipline or pain of regret, your choice. I buy something at 500 rupees, my target is 520 rupees. It does not work out for me for quite some time. It dwindling between 490 and 500. I accept I don't accept the fact that my entry may be wrong. It goes to 510. 510 I want to book out, although my target is 525. Maybe it would be wise enough to book at even 522 or 23, but I book out prematurely because I can't see my profits going away from the screen. So there I'm not acting objectively. And that I tell myself, okay, let me just do this once, just एक बार कर लेता हूँ ऐसे, फिर आगे से नहीं करूँगा. अभी तो प्रॉफिट ही बुक कर रहा हूँ ना, लॉस थोड़ी ना हो रहा है, फिर मैं ऐसा नहीं करूँगा. So these are places where your mind wants to resist you. In psychology, this term is called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is a phenomenon in which we are thinking about two things parallelly. And when we think about these two things, what happens is that एक हम सोचते हैं जो हमारे हिसाब से होना चाहिए और दूसरा जो हमारे सामने हो रहा है वो हमारे हिसाब से नहीं हो रहा है. तो हमारा माइंड कहीं ना कहीं उसको रैशनलाइज करता है कि हम उस सिचुएशन से कैसे निकले. तो जैसे ही हम उस सिचुएशन में आते हैं जहाँ पर हमें लगता है कि ओके ये तो मेरे लिए वर्कआउट नहीं हो रहा है, दिस इज नॉट हैपनिंग एज हाउ आई एम थिंकिंग, maybe it is just because you are too sensitive to it. You should not be so sensitive to it. You should give that stock or that trade time, right? So when it does not happen according to us, or when we what we expected, and this is very stupid things people do. They present each other also like this sometimes, and they make these long arrows and straight as if every move is going to be a very steep and sharp and fast move. Every move is not a powerful move. You need to get into the details of technical analysis to be able to get into the powerful moves. Sometimes without details also you get it, but yes, you need to get into some level of perfection with analysis. So every move is not a powerful move. Things take time to unfold. The market takes time to unfold. It is always about patience after taking the trade. So when you don't have patience, you don't want to see the profits going away from your screen. So 500 का 510 हुआ, मेरे पास 1000 शेयर है, 10,000 आ रहे हैं मेरे पास. I don't want it to go even 2-3,000 below that, because the moment I don't want it to go, I tend to book out from it prematurely. And the next thing I know, that it's gone to 530. There are reasons why these things happen. So 500 to 510 में मैंने पहले देखा कि 500 मैंने खरीदा, 495 तक हो गया, फिर 500 आया, और जब वो नीचे जा रहा था तब मेरा माइंड उन चीजों पे फोकस कर रहा था जो मेरे फेवर में आ रहा, लाइक एवरी टिक ऑन द ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन, एवरी टिक व्हिच वाज इन माय फेवर, माय माइंड फोकस्ड मोर ऑन दैट. When it went to 510, my entire focus was on that 10 rupees which I was standing to make. And after that, I could not just accept. So my mind takes the resistance of accepting the fact that there can be a correction in between my move. So we tend to take the path of least resistance. Tend to take the path of least resistance because we don't follow discipline sometimes. So last point, we are addicted to dopamine release in our brains. As I was saying, people want a release, people want an expression, and they start drinking, drugs, smoking, and stuff like that. Why? Because there is a certain brain chemical which is called dopamine. It not only is necessary, it also is bad for us. So there are two sides of dopamine. What happens is that this brain chemical makes us want to. Okay, before I go ahead with this, since this is a little more advanced, can I just stop and ask if anyone has any questions to ask? If you want to ask any questions, you can type in your question. So anybody wanting to ask any questions? All good? Not yet. I'll continue. Thank you so much. So there's a brain chemical called dopamine, and there's this recent research work I'm doing with, and in that process, I'm reading a lot of stuff. I'm talking to astrologers. I don't know if somebody has already thought of it like this, but dopamine could be connected with the shadow planet Rahu. Now, I don't know if so many of you have heard of it or not, but you necessarily need to have a good or a well placed Rahu in your birth chart to actually have some instincts towards the stock market. Now, what is Rahu? What is dopamine? And why I'm using all these terms all together? Because what tends to get us a crave, a motivation to make money and to motivation towards material things. It is the same thing which tends to make us take aggressive risk, right? So what happens at the highs or at the bottoms? There's an exuberance to buy and there's a exuberance to sell, which I would call pessimism. But there's an exuberance to buy. तो कोई चीज ऊपर जा रही है, एक्सपोनेंशियल ऊपर जा रही है, आप कूद रहे हो बिकॉज आप उसको मिस नहीं करना चाहते, या आपको वो बहुत ज्यादा तेज लग रही है और बहुत ज्यादा बुलिश लग रहा हो आप उस पर, तो आप उस पर कूद रहे हो. You go in with any kind of position size you feel like. You don't have any perception of where the stop loss is, you don't think about all those things. And what finally happens? That state of mind, exuberance, is the state of mind where there is no perception of risk. These are over aggressive times. Yeah, for example, RBI policy आई, markets plunge down किए. कई बार हम होता हुआ देखते हैं कि एक बार में market नीचे आया, everybody wants to go and sell, and the next thing you know, markets are ऊपर, and next day probably it's gone higher also. So these are times, you have to understand that these little news are maybe a catalyst, maybe just a catalyst for market participation to happen, movements to happen. And they may be really corrective moves, they not be actually trending moves. So here what happens is that because of what you're looking on the screen, you looking at on the screen, you tend to not just find a little bit of dopamine is good, a decent, healthy brain synapse in dopamine is good, but too much of dopamine release gives people a dopamine rush. You won't believe how many hundred people have actually accepted this fact on this very platform in this very webinar that they feel a rush in their brain and their nervous system after every trading day or during the trading day, and that rush is actually is bad for you because what it is doing is that it is trying to push you to take more risk. It is trying to want to take all your losses back from the market at once. It is trying and taking all objectivity out of your system, and objectivity is everything in trading. If you are objective, you're a good trader. I don't care about the scale. If you're objective, you're a good trader. You'll be consistent only if you're objective with the market, objective with yourself. So when these kind of pain releasing, and sometimes this dopamine is also released when you get a profit. So actually dopamine even in general life, if you have sudden pleasant happy events, it is released. And when you're too happy and you traded, so there was a time when I actually in a span of small time, I had probably, this was about a year back, and I had probably uh, got all my businesses were like flourishing within 1 week. I got so much money from everywhere, including trading. I was so happy, and somehow psychologically I felt the next one or two trades I made mistakes because of being too happy. You can never afford a loss. You just feel like you can. You can't afford a loss. A lot of people who make money, they just go and they feel like, okay, I can afford a loss. I can afford this much. Let's try this new kind of trade. But no, don't do all that because that is stopping you from going. And the more the stakes are, the more there will be a tendency to go into either direction. And when the sudden pleasant feeling comes, you want to make it grow. So first thing I want to, अगर मैंने 2 लाख रुपए का अकाउंट खोला और मैं 2 लाख के 2,70,000 हो गए एक ही ट्रेड में, the first thing I know I want, the first thing I know I want is to make it grow at that same rate every day. And the market moves in every day in a different shape and size. Every move is unique, every trend is different, any intermediate and sub trend and minor trends, everything is different. So there is a similarity which we call technical analysis, and to be able to read and gauge from the similarity. But in its essence, every move is different. So I'll move on to the next slide. Right, if you've seen this Kaun Banega Crorepati, and if someone is from outside of here, then you must have seen Who Wants to Be a Billionaire. There's a very similar thing which happens compared to the markets, and that is where I try to explain people the principle of probability, the principle of position sizing. Now, first of all, we have all seen Amitabh Bachchan and Kaun Banega Crorepati explaining us the rules, and whenever you go from this level 40,000 to this level 80,000 or 1,60,000, you tend to do certain things and you are asked to make a decision. Like for example, you made 3,20,000 rupees or you made 6,40,000 rupees. I think you, I think I'm wrong over here. Excuse me, please. Right. So if I made 6,40,000 rupees, either I will take 6,40,000 rupees back home, or I will take 12,25,000 rupees if I answer the question correctly. So there's a 50% probability of making almost double the money, or because is there 50% probability? I mean, you have 4 options, right? So out of 4 options, any one option may be correct. So there is a 25% probability there's a 25% probability of being right on our answer. So at 6,40,000 rupees, you tend to choose an answer. And you said, I'm going to make 12,25,000 rupees. But there's only a 25% probability, a 1/4 probability that I'll be right over here. And the 3,20,000 rupee part, if I fall back, I'm going to fall back on 6,40,000. That's okay. So there's a 100% chance. There's a 100% chance of taking back 6,40,000 rupees, or there is a 25% chance of making 12,25,000 rupees. So which one do you choose? Mathematically, if you calculate one probability for one situation, you should actually stop. And probably this is with trading, because people, when they are sitting on a monster trade, when you're sitting on a monster trade, and I'm more than sure a lot of people are smart enough to find out that in some point in their life, and they will continue to find out more and more frequently with time, some really big trades and some really accurate trades. When you're sitting on a sharp, nice, fast movement, and then you're through the strongest part of the trend, you feel corrections, you feel it may go up, and it does. But what tends to happen is you get out of the trade prematurely. You get out of the trade, which may be the best trade for the year for you, very prematurely. And then later you look back and say, okay, this trade could have changed my life. What tends to happen is exactly what is happening in this game. So the player is thinking that probably 25% of the chance of making 25,000 rupees is less than actually taking back 6,40,000 rupees or whatever now. What should his only and only criteria be to choose and play ahead? His only criteria should be to see how much he knows the answers, how objectively correct he feels about which is the correct answer. So if someone is sitting at 6,40,000 rupees or 3,20,000 rupees, pardon me if my rules are wrong, I don't remember too much. The only criteria for him to choose to play and choose to answer the next question should be if he knows the answer correctly or not. Or if he doesn't, then he might as well use a lifeline. Right? So, in such a situation, a person will lose objectivity very naturally because the kind of probabilities he's facing. So, if I'm already making 20,000 rupees in a trade, although I expected to make about 50 to 60,000 rupees, I want to not see movements against me, and I get out of that trade which could have made me double the money without doing anything at all. Only because I thought that after going up so much, maybe there's a probability it will start going against me, or maybe I'm thinking too smart for myself. Maybe there's a lot of self-doubt and there's no objectivity. Maybe there's a lot of inaccuracy with analysis and there's no objectivity and stuff like that. So the only criteria should be objectivity for decision making. If you're objective, your decision making is better. What is the disadvantage of fundamental analysis? As in the words of Mark Douglas, who is extremely a wonderful author of even trading psychology, what he says is that the fundamental analysis is what creates a reality gap. Now, आपको fundamentally लगता है कि ये जो stock है, जैसे मैं कुछ दिन पहले अकेला एक कैफे में बैठा कुछ राइटिंग वर्क कर रहा था अपने लैपटॉप के साथ, वहाँ पे एक ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल आए, तो उनमें 3 लड़के थे, मिडिल एज्ड, and they were talking, and suddenly what happened is that they began talking about stock market, and I was overhearing the conversation. तो उनमें से एक जन ने कहा, अरे ये कंपनी, ये स्टॉक तो 1100-1200 के ऊपर होना नहीं चाहिए, 1500 हो ही नहीं सकता. तो ऑब्वियसली कुछ लोग होते हैं जो ऐसी बातें करते हैं और अपने दोस्तों के बीच में, और वो सही करते हैं. मे बी मुझे नहीं पता कि ऐसा वो जिस तरीके से बोल रहा था उसकी रिसर्च और उसके रैशनल के थे उसके पीछे, बट उसने ऐसा कहा. अब बहुत जगह ऐसा कहा जाता है, ओके ये उतना होना चाहिए, this is too much, this is too less, this is very cheap, this is very expensive, and then when it goes up they say it comes at a price, quality comes at a price. If it goes down, then they say probably the reasons why it is down. Whatever, irrespective of that, I really respect fundamental analysis. I myself have been and do invest also in the long term. I do it for my clients as well. So irrespective of all that, what I'm trying to tell you is that what should be and what is now. What is now? There's a very big gap. what should happen and what is happening now, there's a very big gap. So जब मोदी जी ने डिमोनेटाइजेशन ले आई, तो क्या एक अनसिस्टमैटिक रेस था, वो एक सिस्टमैटिक रेस था, दैट वाज फॉर ओवरऑल इकोनॉमी. सो इफ द ऑल स्टॉक्स प्लंज डाउन, तब किसी ने देखा कि सन टीवी अच्छा आ गया, नीचे खरीदो, राइट? तो जब आई मीन किसी ने देखा नहीं, मैंने खरीदा था, बट आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू से कि when stocks fall down together, they can fall down together irrespective of them being a good stock or a bad stock. If there is monsoon, कहीं से आज अच्छा बारिश की खबर आई है, तो कल मार्केट 100 पॉइंट बढ़ेगा या 200 पॉइंट बढ़ेगा. कैन आई पुट अ नंबर टू इट? can I take GDP into 3 plus unemployment rate into 4 plus IAP data का ये component into 5 is equal to how market should be? There is no formula. So practically there's a big reality gap. Even amongst the discussion between two fundamental analysts, they can have two different and extreme views, and maybe there's a reality gap over there also. That I go and tell them that, okay, see, this is the value fairly should be about 1,000 rupees for this stock, and somebody else says it should be 900, and someone else says it should be 1,200, and so on. So this, and then again, trading on news. I'll also send in the WhatsApp group some messages regarding this one little article I wrote, and it explains the second point. Explains very good on the trading on news. See, trading on news as a technical trader, what I would say is that I really step back at times if I clearly don't know what the news is like. But if I know and if I have a conviction towards the overall trend and the pattern in which I'm trading, then I hold on to my trades, or I take new trades also irrespective of the news. But generally we need to be nimble and be in the sidelines, because the news can give us fresh movements and fresh trends, and that's just trading wisdom. It's got nothing to trade on the news. A lot of times, there are innumerable times, news just comes and I'm already in the trade, and I'll show you some setups like that right now. So I'm already in the trade. So we have to have this clear function of, a fundamental analysis and the short term part. You see, market can remain, listen to this carefully, markets can remain irrational much, much, much longer than you can remain solvent. Markets can remain irrational much longer than you can remain solvent. So, in the short term or even the medium term, in some cases, if you go and want to trade fundamentally on leverage without knowing your entry and exit points, without having a plan as to what to do, it's going to be an extremely difficult and extremely. I have never seen someone who can and prove me or do something like that, or has any kind of record in front of me doing it that way, right? There are always either technical factors totally involved or just technical factors put together. Uh, Next slide. Right, so in this entire confusion, I'd like to also add, what happens is that there is the social media. There is the the business media. And I have had some of my close friends go to CNBC and give interviews. They are also technical analysts, and I don't like to tell it out loud, but yes, to some extent, I also did not go to CNBC for this reason. But the thing is that this entire scenario where there's a lot of noise created. For example, somebody from your group SMSs me, सर प्लीज आप ये बताइए कि स्टॉक का आपको क्या लगता है, मैंने ये 100 रुपए में लिया है, अभी ये 90 रुपए है, आपको क्या लग रहा है? तो मैं जो बताऊंगा उसे, हो सकता है कि मुझे लग रहा है कि वो 90 से 110 जाएगा, या वो 90 से 95 जाएगा, तो मैं उसको वो बताऊंगा. 95 के बाद क्या करें सर? I don't know, because that was my entry, that was my exit, and I know the trading plan, right? My view can only be a tool to that other person. Also, when some of my close friends have gone to CNBC, what has happened is that they have in the car in which they are going, वहाँ पे लैपटॉप में एक मेल आएगा कि ओके, आप ये स्टॉक के बारे में आज बताएंगे. What are those stocks? Those are stocks probably which are in the limelight, some mid cap buzzing, small cap stocks, these kind of things. And they tell me, more, I don't even track these stocks. Why don't they ask me just tell some trade which I have in hand right now, which I can tell about right now? No, because they're not buzzing stocks. So there are certain reasons why they are done, because the simple reason is that they want to give entertainment, right? That is like Cartoon Network on business communication, CNBC. If you look at and talk to people unnecessarily, now I'm saying that you get involved in places where you get knowledge, where you share ideas, you get involved, but you don't get affected by it, because all the over information is going to probably bias your trade. For example, you go in between people who say that the market is very bearish and you are long, and that made a drastic shift in my trading when I stopped interacting on those areas of where I saw people going to extremes. So people where they share knowledge, where they share ideas, good, go there, participate, take something from there. Take some knowledge from there, take some insight from there, take some hindsight from there, and that will become your foresight. But don't involve yourself where you see that there are extremes they are being talking about. Because wherever extremes are being talked about, and they seem very attractive, and at the end of the day, they may not play out exactly the same way. So you don't need all the the funny kind of things around you. Otherwise, your decision will just change like anything, right? Now, technical strategies are footprints that stronger hands are leaders. A technical trader is the first follower, not the leader. To illustrate this, that the technical trader is a first follower, is not the leader. Now, there was this trading firm I used to work with, and recently what happened is that I was near, I don't know if you live in Calcutta, I was just having food at a restaurant and I was walking through the Park Street crossing. I ex-colleague, met my ex-colleague. And that day there was a movement in Bharat Forge, and we was happened to have a little chat. And I told him that I bought Bharat Forge, and it was already 6% up when I bought it, and it went up another 8% that day itself. It was a brilliant trade, and I'm holding on to it. So he said, okay, so Bharat Forge you bought when it was 6% up. So what were you doing when it was there at the lowest levels? So I told him that time that then you can go and buy Infosys. It will go to 900 and then bounce up. Then why don't you go and buy it? At that time, Infosys was 1000. I went to 900. Now it's again bouncing up, or whatever. It went lower. So there's no practical conversation when you are talking in terms of buying absolutely at the lows and selling absolutely at the highs, because you have to realize that everybody who is selling it to you or buying it from you, everybody who is trading has this only intention of buying at the lows and selling at the highs. And these mass tides of psychology create price movements and create short to medium term to long term trends. A lot of people who come to argue with me, आप क्या बोल रहे हैं सर, टेक्निकल एनालिसिस सेंटिमेंट होता है, लॉन्ग टर्म होता है, ये होता है, वो होता है. आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट दे आर ट्राइंग टू से. अगर कोई चीज ऊपर जा रही है और मैंने उसको भाई बोला है, तो शायद वो अच्छी क्वालिटी की चीज होगी, शायद उसके बैलेंस शीट बहुत अच्छे होंगे, शायद उसका बिजनेस प्रॉस्पेक्ट बहुत अच्छा हो रहा है, इसलिए वो ऊपर जा रही है. So they can go parallel. Why do I have to mix up two things? Right? I don't have to mix up two things. I don't have to argue something. If something is going up, it might as well be of very good quality, and you may have the right rationale to buy it. So the purpose of me buying is to play out and express my analysis and my strategy. It is not to see how good the company is. But you may be in the company for a long term. You may hold it on for a longer term than me. You may buy it lower or higher prices than me, irrespective of all that. They can be mutually exclusive things. So technical strategies are footprints. Footprints. The stronger hands or leaders, they are wanting to save the supports. They wanting to create higher lows. They want to create higher highs, and they are trying. There is a price extension in every time frame. छोटे टाइम फ्रेम में भी एक्सट्रीम में लोग जाते हैं, वो इंट्राडे ट्रेडर होता है या जॉबर होता है. थोड़े बड़े टाइम फ्रेम में भी लोग एक्सट्रीम में जाते हैं. So there are price extensions in every time frame, and there always will be, because that is the nature of price movement. So you can have someone, I'd gone to this place, and there was this CFA meeting, and somewhere I was made to sit with a lot of people, and they were discussing about the markets, and they were saying that market went from here to here, and now it is not going anywhere. Now it is sideways. आपको क्या लगता है ये वो? So I was like, there's nothing to worry about because you're talking in such a worried terms. Probably you're bought at the very fag end of the high, right? That is why you're worrying. Maybe you're the end of the movie you're bought. But the truth is that markets go up, they expand, they contract, the price. That's the very nature of price. So if you're a long-term investor, you don't have to think of it that way. Now, the worst thing people get into is that a long-term investor should always take it like as if the market is like a sabzi mandi. You need to buy this sabji, you go and buy it from the market. So if you need to buy this business, you go and buy the stock from the market. You don't even look at the price so much. That's the best way to buy. You don't have to get so influenced. These days people they go and buy, they tell me, okay, हमने ये बड़ा investment किया है, हम ये long term के लिए करेंगे. The next thing you know is that before I even open my computer, they're waiting for 9:15 and they're waiting to see what the stock is doing with their bond. This is now not how investing is done, right? And what is trading? Trading is not wanting to become the first person to buy at the lowest price. Technical trading is always about being the first follower. Yes, you get amazing risk reward. Sometimes you buy compared to the size of the move you buy at very low levels sometimes. But technical trading is about the first follower, not the leader. I have a very funny video to tell you all this, but I'll show that after some time when we go for a short break maybe. We have time. So this is the chart of Lupin, and I'll just try to illustrate you what happened with me and this in the last. This slide I prepared the last time we were having this webinar about a month back. This is the chart of Hero Honda. Sorry. So I'll just show you. So you see this area. This was a bad sales news. Bad sales figures came. You can go and check. So bad sales figure news came, and there was a short-term down move here. And after this, and I have traded by buying Hino Honda over here, over here, even over here, and now also recently I took this trade on Hino Honda 2 days back. So I just went with my strategy and with the patterns telling me, irrespective of the news. And the day this news has happened, it was in my radar. I was in my radar. Okay, what is going on in this? What is going on in this? So the idea is what I'm trying to tell you, that sometimes news create opposite movements also, and they're the worst places you get. A lot of people must have gone short there. And then what do the operators want to do? Is they want to collect shorts before the market goes up. Like I want to collect the longs before the market goes down. So this blue circle you see, this is Lupin. And this in Lupin, what happened is that there was this positive news. There was this positive news. You see this red highway candle. Positive news of approval, FDA approval that day. And about 2-3 days later, I had this technical setup to short it, and I shorted it, and I made money out of it. So you're getting the feel what I'm trying to say, that this had got nothing to do with the news. Sometimes I take a trade, and after that the news comes, and you see it's working out, and then later I get to know it's news tha kya? Aisa. But I saw some very clear things on the chart. Sometimes it happens like there was a head and shoulder in emphasis about 2014, 15 sometime. 2014 I guess. And I remember there was a sudden news, overnight news coming, and you see the price movement happening. And 5 days back anyone wanted to buy it. So I don't want to correlate things. I don't want to think of myself as someone smarter or less smart. I just know that technical and fundamental analysis can be parallel, but they're still mutually exclusive in certain terms. Because what is happening fundamentally does not give us any guarantee that it will, or it doesn't even give us a certain probability that it will come out and show its light in the short term. Right? Now, technical patterns and technical strategies are not the same. They're similar. They're not the same. They're similar. So I'll show you two patterns, and this is psychologically very important to understand because you will not get a same pattern at the same time, at the same place, or a similar placement of the pattern. You will find something which is slightly different. So this was the someone who knows elite wave theory. This was a truncated 5 that I spotted. This is 4. This is 5. And I saw this head and shoulder pattern. So just using some basic terms, don't get confused. This was a head and shoulder pattern, and I've tried to mix different because see all patterns are not valid and sometimes they go false also. So I like to mix other concepts and very strong concepts. And Elliott wave is, to my knowledge, the best thing I've come across till date. So truncated 5, and I believe that probably this would be a ABC or a new impulse. So at least it was a ABC and it hits target. Now this entire same thing, if I were to tell you, I saw the same thing recently, and over here you see the RSI was also at certain zone which are not being able to trade, but there's over many divergences in the RSI if you see over here. Right now, this is the same thing with the weekly chart. There were many divergences in the RSI. This is idea. So the news had actually started coming in here, and I did not know that day for some reason about the news. It was a Friday. I was just talking to my father and I'm telling him, see, the idea probably is going to, there can be some consolidation or something like that, but this is finally going to probably go higher because now the time has come. Now, all my factors, there's a concept which I teach also. It's got to mix with Elliott wave and RSI. So this is a very advanced concept. So that I was trying to tell that probably we are very close to the low. So I decided to start buying. So whatever position size I normally take, I took one third of that, and for that I had to go actually some. So I started buying some in cash also. So from cash I started buying, and zoom, 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 it went and it just broke the highest levels, and I got this wow trading idea. Now, the major part of the major news also came over here. The feeler of the news started coming in over here, but I did not even look at it. And it could have not been the news coming in the feeler terms also. It could have been 2 days later. The thing is that these patterns tend to repeat themselves. Correct. Now, getting into how people tend to start thinking of a trade when they now this is like a simple double bottom pattern. Now a lot of people will find it difficult to identify because the understanding the technical patterns are the same, are similar. They're not the same. They're not textbook style same. They're similar. They're not stencil like one upon the other. So when they bought over here and they thought that this is probably a bullish pattern with the play of intuition also they thought correctly, and even while trading from intuition you need a risk management system, right? So when they saw the move going for them, they felt very good. The moment they saw the movement going against them, little bit also, a little bit retracement, and they started telling themselves, shit यार मुझे तो पता ही था ये हेड एंड शोल्डर ये डबल बॉटम है ही नहीं, तो गलत पकड़ लिया, तो ज़्यादा स्मार्ट समझ लिया अपने आप को, and they got off a very good trade over here, which would have otherwise been like this. So we have to understand that we need to, you know, take out the best from what you can do. Also, not just that, also you need to have certain solutions to all these kind of problems. So now I'm going to come to the last two slides as the subconscious and the conscious solutions. So before I go there, is there any kind of question anyone wants to ask me? Okay, so I'll come to the solutions to things. And give me a 1 moment break. 1 moment. Yes, Mr. Irfan, I saw your message. So, the technical terms I used, you probably did not understand, and it's okay. What I wanted to give you is a feel of how two technical terms, two technical concepts in different places are being placed. And if you want to learn, then obviously you can join my full webinar course. That's a paid course, so we can talk about it later. I'll tell you about it later. So, varieties, technical analysis, trading, psychology, risk management, all kind of things. That course content can be showed to you. So, my course coordinator can call you for that. So, let's continue with what we have for now. Yes, I'll tell you more about it. Yes. So, I'll tell you some conscious solution. Now, these are solutions which you can consciously apply when you are thinking and applying. It is conscious. When it is subconscious, it is something which comes naturally, but you have to embed it subconsciously. And we'll talk about this embedding subconscious. We'll talk about meditation. We'll talk about concentration in a while. So what happens when we are talking about conscious solution? First of all, stop loss orders. Now there's a large number of traders who feel that if they put a stop loss order, that it will be eaten up by the market and they'll go somewhere else. There's nothing like that. First of all, there's really the discipline of putting a stop should be there. Number one. Number two, what is a stop loss order? Just like Irfanji said that probably he did not understand some technical terms. So maybe he's not trading technically. Maybe someone is trading technically. So what I'm trying to say is that the stop loss order is never an amount which you can afford to lose. A stop loss order is never an amount which you can afford to lose. If I'm talking about technical design of pattern or technical trade, the technical strategy, a stop loss is a place where your analysis is invalidated. तो आप afford to lose कर सकते हो, वो stop loss नहीं है. आपकी analysis invalidate हो गई है, वो correct stop loss है. उसके बाद उधर से जो target है उसके risk rewards क्या है, क्या risk rewards attractive है, अगर stop loss order है, target है, तो क्या risk rewards attractive है, क्या जो आप अमाउंट लोगे लॉस, क्या आप उस अमाउंट एज इन जो डिफरेंस इन प्राइस, difference in entry and stop loss multiplied by quantity, are you psychologically comfortable with that? These are the few things you need to know. For this you need to know your system very well. Number two, scaling up and scaling down. Now anything which has conscious solutions to it, you need to know system very well. So if you want to scale up, तो आप अगर खरीद रहे हो, there is a space जहाँ पे आप वो खरीद रहे हो, वो थोड़ा सा करेक्ट हो तो आपको और खरीदना चाहिए, and there is a certain space and style जहाँ पे वो अगर ऊपर जाए तो आपको ऐड करना चाहिए, because now it's actually coming in your favor. Now they both differ depending on the nature of the pattern, nature of the strategy. So you need to know where to scale up, where to scale down. What happens when you scale up? When you scale up, you are being more sure of a trade, and you are seeing that it is now actually going towards your target. So if you scale up, you can add more to a existing position, and also see your risk reward is anyway skewed because you have added, say for example, half the position right now. Second half you add after a certain level is taken out or after a breakout or whatever. So you scale up like that and take, and then obviously you need to know your system very well and place your order stop loss and your net loss whatever in a very proper way. Next thing is scaling down. What is scaling down? So मैंने अगर 2 लॉट लिए और मेरा टारगेट है 10,000 रुपए, अब ये उस केस में किया जाता है जहाँ पर आपने जो टेक्निकल फैक्टर्स जोड़े हैं. सी टेक्निकल फैक्टर्स जो जोड़े हैं ये मैं क्लियर कर देता हूँ. व्हाट आई मीन टू से इज दैट टेक्निकल एनालिसिस इज नॉट अबाउट वन कॉन्सेप्ट. Any concept which is a single concept applied in isolation will not give you the results. We need to mix things. We need a set of assumptions. So maybe the set of assumptions on a trade, out of my 10 set of assumptions, 7 of them ask me to buy, 3 of them ask me to sell. Out of the 7, maybe 5 of them are giving me more of a short term buy. So I take a trade, I make 5,000 rupees and then I get stopped out. I take a trade, I make 5,000 rupees, I get stopped out. But I don't book that 5,000 rupees because my target was 10,000. So in such a situation, what actually needs to be done is when I know my set of assumptions is of that nature, if I buy two lots, I should exit one lot sooner and let the another lot play out. Number four, understanding of price movement. So exactly what I mean, you need to understand the price movement. Number five, take a break. So this is something you can consciously do. Now we are slowly going towards the subconscious solution. Take a break after a streak of profits. Why? Because psychologically, you would want to grow it as soon as possible, even more at the same rate. Or after a streak of loss. So if you are being bit by small losses, just stop right there. Don't do all that thing. Because that put together would take away a lot. That's not a very happy feeling. So you need to take that pain of discipline and stop right there. If you can take a break like that, then obviously it does good to your trading career in the long term. In the long term, it does good to your trading career. Just 1 minute, please. I think there's something that's come up. Right? Am I audible? Am I clear? Everything is clear? Okay, thanks. Thank you. So, right now we come towards the more subconscious solution or anything that we try to tap in from the conscious level to the subconscious level. So, this is why you take a break because so that you don't feel exuberance or you don't feel depressed and there's no frustration or desperation in which you're feeling. You need a clear state of mind. You need a carefree state of mind, but not so carefree also that you want to lose money and you don't have a plan. Next, meditation. You should meditate daily. You should focus your mind because what is happening in today's world is that you look at movies, you have not just movies, you have lots of things on your WhatsApp, your Facebook, you have notifications, you have price movement. So there's all this flickering going on around you. If you can just tone that down and just focus on the right things, it will be great. What these things do is that they destroy your brain neurons. Your brain has got neurons, right? Neurons are connecting your electrical impulses in the brain and the nervous system. And those neurons have something called synapse, as in there is like this current flowing from one neuron to the other. So that is synapse. As I'm talking to you, it is happening. So obviously there is a spontaneity in which I can talk to you. If you ask me a question, there is a reply I can give to you. But what happens is that what decides how quickly I think, how sharply and spontaneously I think, is my brain synapse connectivity. If my connectivity of brain synapse is strong, then obviously those things analytically, decision making, everything will be strong. Willpower will be strong. Risk taking will also be strong. Everything will be strong. But the world today we live in has got so many things which that tend to weaken that synapse. They create secretion of those enzymes when we go into extremes. So those synapses when they're weakened, it's not a very good thing. What you're doing when you're meditating is that you are rejuvenating your brain. So it is like you're putting your brain on recharge and then you're using it. So you're recharging your brain every day. And you need to meditate. You need to meditate because in today's world, you'll otherwise, especially in trading, the best traders in the world. Okay, someone called Paul Tudor Jones, one of the best hedge fund managers in the world. He has been coming to India to learn yoga. Just imagine the kind of dedication people go to as traders to learn about their own mind, right? What is mind? There was this wonderful incident in my life which I think opened the gateway to a lot of things. And this was when I was in class 9 or 8 or something like that. And we had a karate teacher. And I've done karate for about 6, 8 years, 7, 8 years. So the karate teacher, he told us, asked us a question. He said, "What is the mind? Mind? What is the mind?" And we were all young students. We never understood much of a lot of things in philosophy. So we couldn't answer properly. Someone said it was the brain, someone else said it was the imagination, someone was this, that. Then he said, "What is the mind?" There are a lot of people in the world, the best people in the world, will not be able to define what the mind is. And then he told us the answer after some time. He said, "Mind is a flow of thoughts. Mind is a flow of thoughts." So we'll take one step ahead, and we will go into talking about meditation. Something I heard very recently, so I added. Trying to put this example today is that, for example, mind is something. Also, there is something called awareness. So the mind is a flow of thoughts, where the thoughts will flow. It's a very natural flow. Your awareness is which part of the mind you want to focus on, right? So if mind is one big plane and awareness is an orb of light, if I am thinking or if I listen to a song which reminds me of a certain school time or a certain college time, then my awareness goes towards that place, focuses on that place. If I listen to a song which reminds me of my future married life, then my awareness goes towards that place. If I'm watching a horror movie, my awareness goes to the scary places of my mind. So what we are doing in today's world is we are taking our awareness very quickly from here to here, very fast. We don't understand the value of concentration, the value of studying, the value even analytically. Believe me, people think technical analysis is easy. I sit with for a good number of minutes and hours with some particular one chart also sometimes. So this is the complete idea of awareness, and we allow the outside world to take our awareness from here to here. You just don't need anything. You just need to just take a phone up and open one of these WhatsApp messages or open one of your Facebook, and you just flip, and you see the awareness is just jumping from here to here to here to here to here. And what is concentration? Now, concentration is something which everyone in the world asks us to do. You concentrate. You concentrate. बचपन से बोला जा रहा है concentrate कैसे करो? स्कूल में कभी सिखाया गया? नहीं सिखाया गया. Concentration is putting that awareness into that one thing, any one thing, for an extended period of time. So, if you can concentrate only on the correct things in trading, if you can only concentrate on your discipline, on your rules, your trading will change for the better, like anything. Next, you need to educate yourself, right? I have educated myself over the years. I would say there's nothing more bigger importance than this, because till today, okay, Saturday, Sunday, I do teach, but a good chunk of hours I spend throughout the week and the weekends to just read. I read like anything, and anything new on technical trading, I'll read. Any old concept I want to revise, I'll read. On my table, there is always a rotating books on of my previous books. I've done chartered market technician, but I still don't stop educating myself. I read so much in psychology. There is no limit to educating ourselves, because the winners, the best achievers, the most successful people in the world know what self-improvement is. And at every stage you want to go to the next level, because it's a lifetime challenge. Lastly, write a trading journal for introspection. Till today, I have over 16 trading journals. And when I look back, I just see that every stage, how I evolved as a trader, what are the things I used to think, what are the mistakes I did, how I worked upon them, what were the motivating things. You need to motivate yourself. So there was, for example, there was something I wanted to correct myself about. So I just sometimes went back to my first or second trading journal and just saw some very nice, beautiful lines written about motivation. And that itself got me into a different state of mind. I started doing well. and I took a solution out of that problem. So, that is how one person involves. You need to evolve, you need to write, you need to introspect. I think that's the most important thing in trading. If you're a good introspector, you're a good trader. Please keep that in mind. The entire adventure in trading is not to be that Mowgli in a jungle who is flying and Tarzan in a jungle who is flying from one tree branch to another. The entire adventure, the real adventure in trading is how to control the sense of adventure. How you control the sense of adventure. Now let's come to the subconscious solutions. Right? Now this will be the last two slides. I have more after this, I guess. Uh, Let me see if anyone is asking questions. Okay, no one's asking questions. So after giving this webinar so many times, I think I've made the flow very good also. So not a lot of question comes until the end. And also this one has got thin crowd today. So okay, thank you so much. So subconscious solutions. Let's understand this. What subconscious solution is. It's been a very difficult space in certain social terms, and I've become a very reclusive person until I started teaching. I was very reclusive. I did not talk much about my profession because everybody would want to ask me what the market is going to do. All relatives, uncles, blah blah blah. And sometimes if I said something and it did not happen, the professionals don't do this, right? Professionals understand that anyone can be wrong. And the best of the traders ask me questions. The best of the traders of other segments of different markets also ask me questions. But they don't get back to me if I'm right or wrong also. The the close ones, the friend circles and all, they start questioning you. So when I was in maybe the second year, third year of college, someone asked me, "What do you think of the markets?" And I said, "See, this is what I think. This is happening." That one. And I had a confidence in my system. I was doing well. I started trading well that time, but I went wrong. And then someone said, "What are you saying? You don't know a thing. हो गया ना तेरा? हो गया ना? तूने बोला था हो जाएगा. नीचे चला गया. देखा ना? नीचे जाएगा तूने बोला तो ऊपर चला गया. देखा ना?" So at that time, if I told myself, "Oh my God, I don't know anything," how is it going to work out? Obviously, I just told myself that I know who I am, so I don't need your validity, right? We all are in this entire labyrinth of things where we want to always be evaluated by other people. So the understanding of self-evaluation is very low. If you can evaluate yourself, and believe me, if you are on this webinar, you have been in the markets. If you have been in the markets, you have survived in the markets. If you are taking a step to learn something, you have survived and understood the value of learning in the market. You are on the right direction. And if at all, if you look back in your trading record and if you don't find it good, believe me, there is no one else you need to prove to you. You have already proved it to yourself. The fact that you have what it takes. You have what it takes. You have the sense of self-improvement, learning, and developing something. See, opening a trading account is easy. Opening a business is also easy. I just need a few papers, a bank, a trade license, a current account. Building a business is difficult. So building a good trading account is difficult, and you're taking the steps for that. So feel good about it. Have a high degree of self-evaluation. Have positive self-esteem. That's the second point. Have a positive self-esteem. I know who I am. Fine, I don't have ego. There's a difference, between positive self-esteem and ego. The ego says that I'm the only one, right? I'm the only one. Positive self-esteem says something else. It says I know who I am and I'm good enough. I'm on my way. So have that positive self-esteem. Feel emotionally elevated. Emotional quotient these days is more important than even intelligence quotient. Next, wealth consciousness or poverty consciousness. And I'd like to try and ask you to do this. That someday, you do this. That you take a paper and you write your expenses, like your average daily expenses. For example, someone like me would write, okay, I spent so much money on petrol on average. I spend so much money on eating little things outside on average. I spend so much money on miscellaneous expenses on average. I spend so much. So these are my personal expenses. Okay, it can range from all the chewing gums to all the candies and outside lunches and dinners that I'm having. So this is my average. Okay, on weekends I go for this lunch. I went for this dinner. So write those expenses. Write it for 5 days, 10 days, and at the end of the day, you will see you ended up spending more than you actually spent because you wanted to keep them down. You wanted to keep them fixed, right? Because all your awareness is going towards poverty consciousness. And let me tell you this very important point. Market is a mirror. जो मार्केट है वो एक मिरर, वो ये सिर्फ दिखाता है कि आप क्या सोच रहे हो. अगर आपको डर लग रहा है तो आप बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग अप ट्रेंड में डरोगे. मुझे डर लग रहा है कि ये नीचे आ जाएगा, इसलिए मैं खरीद भी नहीं रहा, इसलिए मैं खरीद भी नहीं रहा, या इसलिए मैं अपने पोजीशन को एग्जिट कर दूँ. वो हर एंटी ट्रेंड मूव जो आएगा वो आपको डराएगा, वो वही दर्शाएगा जो आपके अंदर है, जो फीलिंग आपके अंदर है. सो द मार्केट इज लाइक अ मिरर, right? So similarly, if you are having poverty consciousness, you are living by poverty consciousness, that means the orb of light is focusing and keep the awareness on the areas where you are thinking of saving money. इसलिए जो ज्यादा पैसे गिनते हैं वो बहुत ज्यादा रिच नहीं होते हैं, जो ज्यादा कंजूस होते हैं वो ज्यादा रिच नहीं होते. And those who are having and living by a certain level of wealth consciousness, they are telling themselves and focusing on the subconscious areas of telling them that I have enough. So when I start thinking, and this is a very life changing experience I had. Obviously, I knew all these things, and obviously I applied this, but on a very rough and a very straightforward, colloquial note. A very good trader I was talking to, he asked me, I asked him, see, this is the problem I'm facing, this is one little problem. And how do I solve this? I told him that the first trade I take for the day is always ending up in a loss. So what I understand from beforehand, only the second trade onwards I'll get profit. This was a huge problem I had at some stage. So I asked him, yeah, bataiye, what is the solution to it? So he said what he does. He said that whenever I go out and I go to my office, I'm on my way to office. The only thing I keep thinking is that I have enough money. I don't need more money. Automatically, I develop the patience for taking the best trades and execute them well. So that is also giving us a sense of wealth consciousness, right? And you see, it is so subconscious. Our conscious is so powerful; it will make you do things. It is right in front of you. I'm just trying to link up the incidents of how your subconscious has accepted certain norms and things of the world, and they're trying to pull you away from what should be done in the market. So I'm just trying to set up the link in front of you. You can understand the connection. There is no magic. There is no nothing. This is just a direct connection. Next, be humble. Humility is very important. You may be making a lot of money on one day. You may be making a lot of money for months, years, whatever. The best traders are the most humble people. I mean, throughout my journey, I have met people. Had I not crossed roads with those people, I would have been nothing, I feel. And they were like 100 times the size of what I am. Right? They were 100 times of the size of what I was when they went up. And I got to learn so much. They handled me so humbly, and they always spoke at an equal level. I was always shoulder to shoulder with such people. And when I saw that okay, this guy is so humble. It is not so humble because he has so much money. He has so much money because he is so humble. Because humility asks you to put your foot on the ground and just keep doing. If I made say 10 lakh rupees, then if how to make the next 10 lakh rupees would be a function of how humble I am, which will give me the humility to be consistently doing the same thing as you did for the first 10 lakhs. Lastly, you need to have a certain level of equanimity towards profits and losses. Now, this is one part of trading where trading can be thought of something like a money vehicle. See why I did very well, because I just did very well because I started at a young age. And when I faced the maximum level of my mistake was much later. And then I again recouped from it because I knew where I had to be. So when I started from a very young age, I did not have a lot of social pressure. महीने का कुछ कमाना नहीं था मुझे. So when I faced some problems, I looked back and said, this is the solution. When I was young, I had some money and I needed to just grow that money. I did not think of how many trades, right, wrong, blah, blah, blah. Nothing I thought of. Positions, I think nothing. I started with what, merely 2000 rupees. And within few months, I made it to about 1.5 lakhs. And then I made that more. And it was all college time. It was not a very, these are not very, very big amounts, but that for me was the world. And then after a certain point I started facing problems and losing some part of the money, so I went for solutions. So when I was growing, I realized that I was taking trading as a money vehicle. That I have a set of resources. I have 20,000 rupees, and I just need to know ways how to make it 25 or 30. If I can just do that, I've got more capital. Then we'll see what happens later. So one after the other, taking the good trades was like putting my money and resources towards making them big. So if I'm looking at trading as a money vehicle, things become very objective and easy for me. Even holding on to a good trade would tell me that okay, this is a money vehicle which is going to give me say 50,000 rupees. Why should I cut out my profits in 20,000? Ultimately, a money vehicle which you get rarely. So this is how you have to think, right? If you have shared any kind of experience I spoke about, if you want to share that, if you want to ask any questions, you can go ahead. I presume you don't have much questions to ask. So, on an ending note, I'd like to introduce to this is not an introductory webinar for my course, but I just like to talk for 2 minutes about my course. This is a course I teach on technical analysis. I teach online and I teach offline in Calcutta. But then, obviously, for all of you, most of you will be online. If you want to choose to join the course, you can contact me or my course coordinator. What happens in this course is I take you from the very basic level to the very advanced level of technical analysis and technical trading. This course is not just limited to the 2 hours classes, which inevitably become 2.5 hours, twice a week, Saturday, Sunday, 2.5 hours. It is not just limited to that, but we have a very active interaction over WhatsApp and other discussion groups. The students stick with me not just through the course, through life. The fees of the course is 12,500 rupees and there are some group discounts. If you ever want to repeat the course, it will be done at less than half the price. Anytime in life, as many times as you want. If you want and if you are interested to know more about the content of the course, if you want the video to our introductory webinar, it's on YouTube. We'll make sure that you get, we send you the links. And I guess, I don't know if you'll be able to see the contact number. There's some problem with the screen. All of a sudden, I think there's some notification which has come. So you will get to see the number right now. 1 minute, please. So you can contact us on these two numbers, my course coordinator, Mr. Ashish Dalmia, or myself. You can contact us. If I'm not able to answer your call, I'll call back later whenever I can. And it could be anyone, and I would apologize. So you can contact my course coordinator in that case. So this was a little bit about my course. In fact, not much. Just to repeat, it's a 15 session course. If I need, I push it to 16 sessions also. I make sure that everything is covered. It goes step by step from the basic to the advanced. Also includes psychology, definitely. We do give a lot of material and exchange a lot of ideas. There's a lot of interaction otherwise. There are homeworks also, even queries and even tests that are designed for them. So if you're interested, you could join us for the course. I'm beginning a batch at the end of this month and registrations have already begun. So that is one place we could interact again. Also, I'd like to thank all of you once again. If you have any questions right now, please feel free to ask me. If you want to say anything about the webinar, just reply on the mail you get by GoToWebinar. You can just reply on that mail. You can reply it on the WhatsApp message. I'll have to take a leave because I have a session at 1:30 to give. So please feel free to ask me anything in future, refer to me regarding anything in future. And thank you so much for your presence today. It really feels good to see how interested people are and how actively people want to learn. And there's nothing better than a Sunday morning full of learning. So thank you so much. I don't see anyone asking any questions today. Very small crowd today. Very small crowd. In fact, this is one of the smallest webinars. Right? Thank you, Chauhanji. Thank you for coming. I'll be having such a webinar again. More details on trading psychology. In fact, I want to design a course just in psychology, but I don't know how many takers will be from the, from public at large. I just want to. I'm also authoring a book on which mixes a lot of Vedic scriptures and a lot of annotations and symbols from ancient stories, which tell us the truths about psychology and trading. One last point I'd like to mention to you, and this is something which I forgot. This is that to be able to feel wealth conscious, there is a thing which generally very wealth conscious people do. Is one thing is that they donate. So wherever you find the need of people, you can go ahead and with your heart you donate. Subconsciously, you take your awareness to places where you say that you have a lot enough to share. So, on that happy note, thank you so much and goodbye.